close partner of CMAP and proud to be so. We're a regional nonprofit organization that is focused on planning-related issues. Our mission is really about building equity, sustainability, and economic competitiveness throughout the region. And our region is a little more broad. We go into Northwest Indiana and sometimes on certain issues up to Wisconsin, depending on the connectivity to the Chicago region. And we do this in a number of ways. We provide local technical assistance to communities, similar to CMAP, and we partner a lot with CMAP on those projects. We also do research and advocacy around policies and best practices across the country that we can apply here, not only in Illinois, but Northwest Indiana and Wisconsin if applicable. So our interest in this project and this effort is really as much to learn as to contribute. As we work in communities across the region, we really recognize local food as a key component of building equity, as I think Kurt mentioned a lot, but also looking at it as a driver, supporter, supplement to economic development. We see a number of benefits to promoting local food, and I think there's a lot of great case studies across the region. But I think too often it's not because of the city, but because of local efforts. And I think we as planners can play a role in thinking about how we can be more supportive, but also I think a lot of us are plugging away and trying to make it happen, but what stands in our way quite often is a lack of broader local community goals that support local food systems and development, and ordinances that sort of stand in the way. So we're plugging away trying to work around that instead of building the mechanism so that it's easier to do up front. So it looks like we have the presentations up and running. So for us, as we do work in communities across the region, there's the issue of areas of disinvestment. What do you do with the vast amount of vacant land? How do you, if you're prioritizing where development should go, what do you do with the land that would sit dormant because there's not an economic development market yet? So that's of interest to us is urban agriculture as an opportunity there. But also there's this range of permanent urban gardening to the temporary in the meantime. Marisa Navarra, my colleague who's here with me, we joke about that is just having some sort of mechanism where we're engaging community around taking ownership of public spaces, and urban gardening is a great way to do that. And what a signal for economic development and investment when community is taking ownership. So it's a very visible, tangible signal for that for the in the meantime. So we want to look at the range of permanency to the short-term urban gardening opportunities that will allow and incentivize economic development, as well as provide food to things like local restaurants that may come into a community. So all of those connections are important to us. And we're also interested in the civic engagement component of urban gardening, for example. And so even in areas that are more stable or are supported through economic development, we want to look at ways to engage community residents in urban gardening and taking ownership again of public spaces. So we've been working on a placemaking initiative for a number of years now, and many times things like urban farms are a core component and a way to bring community together around that. So there's a number of reasons we're interested in this project, and I'm really excited that CMAP is providing some of the technical tools as they're partnering with local communities to create those local food chapters, and so that communities are thinking ahead and creating those policies that are very transparent and easy to understand, so that we're working through the process more efficiently and creating a more sustainable market for this kind of work. So I wanted to introduce our panelists. So again, we did have this change, and I really want to thank Ray Forgiani, who is the former city planner for Kenosha. He also operates the Kenosha Farmers Market. So what a great farmers market, and lucky farmers market to have somebody with a planning background also supporting the market to be able to negotiate on these kind of issues with the city itself. So that's a plus. So I'm hoping that Ray can talk most about both the farmers market, but also the relationship with the city in trying to make that more sustainable, creating markets to support, or urban agriculture to support the market. So Ray is replacing Jody, who had a family or an emergency, so we're hoping everything's okay with her. I also wanted to introduce Orrin Williams, who's the Executive Director of the Center for Urban Transformation in Chicago. Orrin has been an advocate for urban agriculture and the development of sustainable food systems for over 20 years. And he has also been working on food access and food security issues, and is actively pursuing a multi-level approach to food access, primarily in African American communities. And then we have Dan Vanden Heep. And Dan is a lifelong resident of Niles, Michigan. He is on the council, city council, and he's a founding member of the Niles Community Garden and currently serves on its board. And then in his full-time job, you're a high school teacher, right? So I think you'll also be talking about engaging youth, hopefully, in urban agriculture and sort of bringing that education component to the community. So I think what we're going to do, we have everything loaded for Oren. Let's go ahead and start out with Dan, if you don't mind. You can come here to present that. Thank you.